we are continuing the conversation on AI, and we're going to talk about how AI will enable sell-through and minimize overstock. And I'm happy to introduce two friends from Belgium and Austria to go to a deep dive into this. So give a warm hand to Laurent Mainil, founder of Markmi, and Markus Krenn, head of commercial planning and operations at C&A Europe.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, guys. Are you enjoying Stockholm so far, Markus?
Yes, it's my first time here, and I really love it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Laurent?
Yeah, same for me. I love the city.
You're staying for the weekend as well?
Yes, correct. With my wife. So,
Perfect. Did you take the boat here?
I will take the boat tomorrow. So,
Perfect.
So anyone who has Stockholm recommendations, grab these guys afterwards
please.
and give them your inside tips. So now I want to talk about kind of another layer of how AI will play a role in the value chain. And to start off, Markus, maybe you can describe your role and who you represent and what you do here.
So I'm the head of commercial planning and operations for C&A, and we are a Düsseldorf-based fashion retailer. Think more than 180 years old. So I always love to say that we kind of invented this thing called fashion retail. But we are operating across Europe, more than 1,000 stores, web shops, etc. We only have a D2C business. And I'm basically responsible for everything that happens across marketing, range, as well as allocation, pricing, blah, blah, blah.
Right. We're here to talk about kind of your guys' collaboration, and we're going to do a little deep dive as a kind of a case study of how you collaborate. Laurent, I'll let you introduce yourself as well, and we'll move into what Markmi is and how you started working together.
Okay, great. So my name is Laurent. I'm the founder and CEO of the company called Markmi. So Markmi is actually a SaaS company based in Belgium. We actually developed an AI-driven pricing assistant, specifically focused on fashion retail, so that's the only thing we do. And we help merchandising teams, like Markus' team, with setting prices while optimizing actually the margin and also actually doing that in a very smooth way. So that's what we do. The other question was, yes, how we started the collaboration. So we got into contact, I think, in 2022. 20 somewhere. And at that point in time, C&A was doing an exercise on like what were the opportunities of AI within an organization like C&A. The conclusion of the study was actually seven potential opportunities, of which they prioritized, and one of the ones that came out on top based on the impact as well as the ease of implementation was optimizing markdowns. And that's actually how we came into the game, and then and some other parties, and then in the end, C&A decided to work with us.
I think you guys are an interesting match because Markus, obviously, you mentioned very heritage organization. You've been around for a very long time, big organization, a lot of turnover. Markmi, very young organization, startup, getting out there. How when you're thinking about like you're there, you're looking at different AI opportunities. What's it like going with a startup like Markmi?
So I do think that, and that's what we discussed earlier already, right? We had certain solutions, or we were looking for certain solutions that address problems from our customers, right? In this specific case, we are, I don't know, like not everybody in the room will maybe know C&A, but we are basically acting in the same segment as H&M, and therefore affordability is one of our key topics that we are having to address with our consumers, right? So we were looking for the specific problem, and then Markmi was basically offering a solution to this specific problem, and then it's not a matter of heritage, size of a company, etc. It's how targeted you can solve the problems that we need to address, and I think we found a quite interesting match.
And talk about like, how did it begin? How did you get started?
So it all went via Paul Delart, our head of data at that moment, and he was basically getting all those business requests. One of them was basically the pricing, specifically end of life cycle pricing. And I think they reached out.
Yes.
Right? You came in, we had a test, and then we basically very quickly, I think within weeks, we went into a pilot, proved quite well, and then we decided to scale, basically. And I mean, that sounds very simple now, but with an organization now, with an organization our size, we are, on the one hand, we have a massive number of stores, but on the other hand, we are quite decentralized in some areas, with a big headquarter in Düsseldorf, but then you have all those decentralized functions that are also basically in charge of the supply chain, in charge of certain steps in the value creation, getting them all together, piloting with them, and then not just enabling them with the technology, but also convincing them that it's the right step to do in such a, as you said, organization with so much heritage was a big step.
And why pricing? Why was that zoomed in on?
Basically because, I mean, 2022, we like inflation hit Europe. Our biggest challenge at that moment was to stay affordable for our customers. And with the sheer amount of SKUs that we're having, always setting the right price out of non-data-driven decisions is basically impossible, right? So we said, how can we serve our customers best? By just using the technology that is out there to set the right price for them in the right moment. And it was addressing a huge consumer problem that we had, or a huge problem for our consumers, but also connecting the, how should I say, it was connecting the technology that we had available at that time, basically, with that problem.
Laurent, talk about from your perspective, starting this collaboration. What is it that you actually do for C&A?
So what we do for C&A, it's in essence, it's quite simple. In practice, it's more complicated. But we actually help C&A with setting the end of season pricing. So the moment somewhere end of December, the moment you go into sales season, then you need to reduce the prices. And the way we do what we do for C&A is helping them with actually setting the prices in multiple stages. So that's what we do. So the question was how this.
I think you can describe the Markmi solution here.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So basically, how it works. It's actually quite simple in the sense that. Markus and Markus' team, they have the opportunity. So this is a whole tool. It's loaded with the data of C&A. They have the opportunity actually to set the objectives of the sales season. This could be margin, can be sell-through, can be revenue. They also are able to set business rules. It's not, we don't use these business rules as optimization, but as a kind of boundary in which we optimize. The broader business rules, the better, I would say. And then Markus is able to actually create multiple scenarios with multiple objectives of what's going to happen in the future with certain configurations of the tool, which then enables Markus again and his team to say, okay, this is the most interesting scenario for us. We go for that one. Then they deep dive on that, and then they actually disseminate the prices in the markets. Also important for a company like C&A is they are more than 10 countries. They have a lot of people actually that are responsible for certain countries. So first of all, we ensure that the pricing is actually based on the behavior in the country. So the pricing over countries chain is different. And also it's different, but it aligns with like a certain central strategy, which Markus and the team sets, which I think also brings a lot of value for a company like C&A, and which would be very hard or almost impossible to do without a tool like ours.
So we're talking about essentially like you're looking at all the data that you have, and you're replacing kind of this manual process of defining the prices with kind of more like an AI-driven solution. Markus, can you talk a little bit about that implementation? Were there kind of trust issues internally about like infusing AI? I'm always interested in talking about implementation and like entering new technologies into kind of a legacy operation like yourselves.
So on the one hand, yes, as you say, we have a lot of legacy systems, right? So the first big step is to connect those two. So the outside system with our legacy system. And there we find a super easy solution. But I do think what we should talk about is this, what we experienced, this very interesting tipping point where enthusiasm, right? Because like AI is in everybody's words. Like everybody here in this room hears the word AI once a day in one or the other context. When the enthusiasm switches into fear, right? And fear mean you have we talked about product developers before, and they suddenly see how their shorts get marked down the beginning of June, because maybe we have too much, right? And in the past, our experience would have said, yeah, shorts, it will become warmer in the course of the summer. And we would have not addressed the topic of if we bought too much in a certain region, maybe not as a company, but in a certain region, and we over-allocated there. And then suddenly it goes from enthusiasm into fear, like, oh, they're eroding my margin, they're destroying my season, etc., right? And that's why you then need to, in general, create a lot of transparency. Why was the decision taken? Why is it the right decision? What can we learn from it into future seasons? As well as always being open for the feedback, right? Because when you also basically ignore the feedback, the adoption will not happen in the organization.
So can you also say who was involved in the project? Because it's always, was it IT-led, but the business side, and which one from the business side? Because it's so many values coming in, and I guess it's so complex with getting the right people in the room to just take the decision and also change the behavior.
So basically what we did in this specific case, it was very business-driven. So it was Paul as a head of data, being our connector between me, the business, and our tech department. And then we basically implemented ourselves basically in coherence with the tech department. So they helped us connect the Markmi system with our legacy systems. And I don't want to become too technical here, but apart from that, like the whole data training, the whole like interface, how we want to set it up, the configuration, I think we called it, was solely business driven. And I think we also feel that now. On how we use it. It was not a system provided by tech, but it was a system demanded by the business, which is
totally
simple.
Different.
Yeah.
Laurent, from your perspective, I mean, you are like entering the market now with your innovation. You talk about AI with your existing and potential new customers. Like, how much of your work is actual kind of technical implementation and like implementing your tool, and how much is like talking about this change that we need AI and kind of mitigating worries and so forth, if you understand that question?
Yeah. So I think technical implementation is about 30% for the job, and 70% is what I would call convincing, educating, like change management and things like that. Because technically, it's certainly complex, but we have been working on this for 5 years, so I think we cracked the nut. And we automated a lot of things, but like the changing the minds of people is way harder than changing a line of code. So really like having the conversations first with the executive level, like people like Markus that they understand, that they trust, then with operational people like the merchandisers also, like as Markus says they often get scared, and I cannot. I think they are right to get scared, because like they have a process for the last 15 years, and now we are changing this, and this is scary. So basically talking to the executives, training the people, supporting the people, doing reviews with the executives and the people, like this is all very important, takes a lot of time. But yeah, so and this is where actually most of my time, but also the time of the team goes.
Changing the minds of people is harder than changing a line of code. I'm going to steal that line.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back and look ahead a little bit. Like, what implications do we see from AI? We had a session previously talking about marketing. I'm curious to hear from you, Markus. I'm sure you're out there looking for new solutions. What do you see around the corner in the next maybe like year or two? What's going to happen?
So there are two ways to talk about what's going to happen, right? I'm talking about the more optimistic way. So I think that the current AI evolution or revolution is so big because it becomes so accessible for everybody, right? Like the many can now really access AI and use it in a way that was not imaginable 5-6 years ago. So what I think is when organizations like us and organizations that are also here today, we are always trying to address the biggest problems of our consumers, right? If you put the consumer in the middle, you're asking yourselves, how can I increase your experience or improving experience? How can I be better for you tomorrow? And often those answers will be micro solutions. There will not be huge scale ERP rollouts. Yes, they will also be there, but they will also be micro solutions. And with the adoption of AI and the accessibility, I think that in the next 2 to 3 years, we will be able as organizations to address the problems of our consumers better, more targeted, and much quicker. And that's what those systems that will evolve, that we also saw some of today, which I'm quite impressed of, will help us do.
Laurent, from your perspective, you're doing markdown prices now. Are you looking at expanding your services, or just a reflection in general about like where is AI headed into the retail space?
Yeah, so we will certainly expand our services towards the whole scope of pricing, because there's more than markdown pricing. You have promo pricing, dynamic pricing, like list pricing. You have a lot of things, and the value is, I wouldn't say it's equally distributed, but there is value everywhere. A lot of value actually. That currently most fashion retailers are not capturing. I think my thinking is in line with Markus. I think in the short term, I think the coming 3 to 5 years, fashion retailers will start adopting like point solutions for very specific problems like ours, but you have the same ones in stock management, marketing, customer service, like also for example, what I just saw this morning. I think this will start there. If I look further in the future, like 5 to 10 years in the future, I think there will be certainly for fashion retailer kind of more platform, call it like an AI-driven operating system for a fashion retailer. And I think probably if you look at the organization chart of a fashion retailer today, and in 10 years it will look very different. Because you will just need less people, different skilled people to run the company. So I'm very excited about that, and maybe if things go well enough, we can be the one driving this change. But let's first take it step by step.
Linda, you get the closing words here.
I just love this session because this is a bit a proof of what we want to do with this type of thing. Because what the tech world has created with the cloud platform and the SaaS solution is that small companies that is solving one problem can be enterprise ready when built right, the service. And as a big vendor, you can grab one and you can test it and learn, and you can throw it out, or you don't have to really do the heavy lifting of the old IT world. So this is brilliant, and I think Martin has said it, the CEO of Lindeberg. As a CIO nowadays, you are like an integrator of small solution, building that puzzle that is solving all the problem. And the only thing that I want to say is that you need to start with the problem that you have been doing and not start with the technology. It's not about the IT that will bring the company into the best of the future. It's the business side that have the problem, and we need to start with the problems and then go down. The solution is called tech, but what tech needs to be driven by the problem? So I would say that is my last words.
And let's close out there. Laurent Mainil, Markus Krenn, thank you so much for sharing your insights here today. Wonderful.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.